Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. Want to say hello to all the wonderful Pewter people that are just filing into the chat and watching the show as we get rolling. We're going to preview the Bucs versus the Panthers and talk about every aspect, especially of this Buccaneers team, that they lose this game, everything is off the handle. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow colleague from pewterreport.com and the face that runs the place around these parts. That is SR Scott Reynolds. Scott, how we doing?
Doing great, Matt. I'm feeling pretty good about this one. I'm pretty confident the Bucs are going to beat the Panthers this Sunday.
Are we, though?
I'm just going to come out and say it. I feel pretty confident. I think we're going to get a W this week for the Pewter people out there. I do.
I'm just over believing in the Bucs. You've
been burned before. We all have. So
yes,
that's completely understandable.
I'm angry at myself more than anything else. Got
to look in the mirror, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to hold myself accountable.
Yes.
Because not many people on the Buccaneers at least want to step up.
Right.
And take some blame. But
you know what, man? If I can stop you right there, because that was very profound, what you just said. And, it goes to something Todd Bowles said today that, that is really important about, and he's done a good job of saying that the leaders have kind of kept this team together, right?
Yeah.
And there was a question that was asked today. And maybe you asked that. I wasn't there. I had another business matter to attend to, but feels like something you would ask when he asked if there was a sense of complacency with this team. I'd say that's either a Matt Matera question or a Rick Stroud question, because you both asked very good questions.
Thank you.
Do you remember who said that?
I think JC actually.
Okay, maybe JC Allen. That's a JC Allen question too. I'll give him credit for that. And this is what Bowles said. There's no complacency. There's just youth. It's accountability. You've got to bring one along. Everybody's playing hard, but until they start being accountable for each other, and I've told them this, we won't turn this corner until they start being accountable for each other on the field. And that kind of goes to what I wrote about in Monday's 2-point conversion, where Bowles has got to hold them accountable as the head coach, right? He decides who plays and who doesn't and how much, right? And I don't think that he's done a great job of that, i.e., Ryan Neal playing too much, et cetera, right? Being slow to make some of these personnel decisions, not getting Yaya Diaby right into the starting lineup sooner, because maybe JTS is a guy that functions better with fewer snaps. I mean, he had a pretty solid game. He had a sack in that game, so maybe he's forced to do more with less snaps. But it was really interesting, that last part of what he said, and I'm not absolving Bowles for any of the blame because the buck stops with him as the head coach. But he said, everybody's playing hard, but until they start being accountable for each other, and I've told them this is Bowles saying this, we won't turn this corner until they start being accountable for each other on the field. And that goes to the team captains. That goes to what you and I talked about on Monday's show. We're not going to rehash it, but we're going to mention it again. No Jason Pierre-Paul, no Warren Sapp, no Ndamukong Suh, no Hardy Nickerson, no guy that's going to kind of rule with an iron fist and demand the accountability. I think there's a lot of nice guys on this Buccaneer team that are captains. I think there's a lot of guys that are very good players that have the C on their chest, but I don't know that there's that one guy that is going to take the risk of being the bad guy and getting in somebody's face and calling him out and demanding that accountability. I just don't see it from the personality makeup of the team captains that are currently on this team.
Yeah, when you look at a locker room in general, not even specifically the Bucs, but just all across the league, there are over 70 players on this team between the active roster and the practice squad. And you're going to have different personalities all over the board. Not every single person's going to be best friends. But you need some cohesion in that locker room and different types of leaders. To your point, they have a lot of lead by example guys.
Yes.
And they have a lot of smiling, good mood,
positive, rah-rah,
positive guys, which are needed on this team.
Yes.
The Bucs right now in their locker room have too many good cops and no bad.
Bingo.
Sometimes you need the bad cop. Sometimes
Exactly.
you need a jerk, and maybe
Yeah.
not like a jerk in everyday life. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
still really nice people that hold the door open for others and things like that. But sometimes you need that jerk to be like, no, let's cut it out right now. Let's cut it out and focus on this. Or,
Yep.
hey, man, you got to pick your stuff up because I'm doing this over here. We can't get it done because you're not able to get to the pass rusher. Even if Carlton Davis right now wants to be like, what the hell, pass rush? You guys don't even get remotely close to the quarterback.
Yeah.
So Gardner Minshew has all day to throw. And then on the flip side, it'd be like, what the hell, secondary? Why are you lining up 20 yards down the field? And so, it's almost like, Scott, sometimes you might have two people that don't like each other. And maybe this is more in like high school and stuff like that. And you get in a fight with someone, you throw some punches, then you gain a little bit more respect for the other person. And you kind of almost like each other after that. And it's almost like this, the Bucs need to have a real hashing out type of moment.
Exactly.
Because I'm tired, and I'm sure the fans are tired of the whole like, we know that if we do this, this, and this, we can get it done. We know that we have talent in here. Well, the talent's not doing enough. And Antoine Winfield Jr. can do the speeches and all he wants. I need someone to like yell and scream and do something like that. And it can't come from Baker, who's still trying to build his own way into being a true starter. Because that's what he had with Brady last year. Brady could scream at guys, and he has the resume and stuff to do it. And he or Mike Evans, that would be great.
Brady also had, aside from the glorious resume, the 6 Super Bowl rings, the GOAT mentality and all that, he also had a multi-year deal, right? Baker's coming here like Jeff Garcia came here, which is like a hired gun, like 1 year prove it deal, and it's like he's the team captain. He's probably the most vocal. Like if you look at his comments after the game, right, where he said everyone needs to get pissed off, right? Enough. And that he's inside the locker room saying what you and I are saying right now in this podcast, which is not enough guys are getting pissed off. They're kind of looking around the room at the other leaders and saying, who wants to be the bad guy? Not me. And it's like, sometimes you need to be the bad guy. And the thing is it's not the bad guy to, start a fist fight, but there's nothing wrong with some yelling and screaming and hashing it out, like you said, because at the end of the day, any type of criticism you're going to lobby at a teammate is for what? The greater good. The good of the team to get better. I want you to play better, Carlton. I want you to rush the passer better, Shaq. Right? It's all for, like, I want you to succeed so the team succeeds. Right?
Yes.
And however that comes out, but being positive and rah-rah while you're losing 6 of the last 7 games isn't getting it done. So there is some merit to what Todd Bowles said. You don't want finger pointing. You don't want division in the locker room, but it's okay to hash it out and to be demonstrative and to demand accountability, right? And it's like I remember Warren Sapp, and when he first got here in 1995, he was a rookie, first round draft pick. Did he have clout? He was a first round pick, right? He was, the stud defensive player coming out in the draft that year, and he miraculously fell to Tampa Bay. And immediately he identified Eric Curry, who was a first round pick, I think I want to say like in 92, maybe 93, as someone who was lazy and just not very good.
Yeah.
And like Sapp went to Sam Weish or whoever the defensive coordinator was at the time and just said, what is this bum doing in the starting lineup? Like, this is a rookie who was like not afraid to say, he sucks. Why is he playing next to me? Right. And it's like, and I'm paraphrasing, but like that was the gist of it. And it's like, where's that guy? Where's the guy that's like, you're not good, you shouldn't be in the starting lineup? Not saying that to the player's face, but saying it to the coach, right? Or having a team meeting saying, hey, and I'm not going to use the name here, but hey, how many more touchdowns are you going to give up? Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's needed to create the change necessary in the lineup, in the mentality, and on the field and the level of play, Matt.
And we'll get to Mark Fisher's super chat in just a second. But the last thing I'll say about this is that's where you almost kind of wish, and I'm not going to compare Todd Bowles to Bruce Arians because it's two different coaches, two different ideologies and everything like that. But that's where you wish Todd would at least dip his toe into the water of calling out someone specifically,
Yes.
because you may not have that type of guy in the locker room, everything that we talked about, holding others accountable or just trying to get people to amp their game up. But if Todd could just ignite the fuse, be the one to have the lighter and start lighting the firework, or to be the person to stir the pot. I think they just need that first initial rush, that first initial push. And then others will be like, oh, wow, well, if Todd Bowles just called out Devin White, then anyone can get it. And then I think if the gloves are off, this would help this team specifically. But let's get to the super chat.
I was going to say, everything you said, like, Matt, you couldn't have said it better. Thank you. Spot on everything. The one thing I'll add, too, is growing up when I was a little kid in the Northern Virginia area as a Washington Redskins fan, that was like my first team because I didn't know any better. But I was. And Joe Gibbs, right, who was actually the first offensive coordinator here in Tampa on the initial coaching staff. So there's some relevancy to what I'm saying. But when he became Washington's head coach, he looked like an accountant, right? I mean, the glasses, to the parted hair, he didn't look like a football coach, but obviously won a lot of games, had a lot of respect, but kind of a mild-mannered guy, a little stern, but kind of mild-mannered. Well, they were losing one time, and I forget what year this was. They were losing at Philadelphia big time. The Eagles were up by like 3 touchdowns or something to that effect, maybe 17 points. And he goes in at halftime, and instead of giving a halftime speech, there's a big table with Gatorade, right? All the cups filled with Gatorade. He walks in there, flips over the Gatorade table, right? And just says, what kind of horse crap is this? Or whatever he said.
Yeah.
And then walked out. That was it. And that was so out of character for him to do something like that. So demonstrative, it lit a fire. And the Redskins came back and they beat the Eagles in the second half of that game. And that's what you're talking about, Matt. It's sometimes doing something a little out of character, ignite the fire, light the spark, and see what happens. Maybe you get burned, but maybe you light the fire to get it going.
6-7, Scott. Like, they're already getting burned. It's almost like in another sport, like sometimes in baseball or basketball, you'll see the coach get ejected, and or hockey, you start a fight.
It's the tee in basketball.
Yeah. Hockey, you drop the gloves, you get the boys back into it.
Right.
I'm not recommending Todd Bowles get ejected from a game. I don't even know, has a coach been ejected from a game before?
That's good.
Who was that Ohio State or Michigan coach that punched a player back?
Oh, that was
way
Ohio
back
State. Woody Hayes.
I knew it was like a famous coach.
Yep.
But I don't know, because I don't want to rehash this saga from Bucs fans where they just get pissed that Todd is on the sideline. And for those listening to audio, you won't get this part, but Todd just be on the sideline like this,
right? Arms
after
crossed.
After a play,
stoic.
when nothing happens. The only other reaction you see from Todd when he's like, come on. That's not a foul. Come on.
Right.
I don't know. Sometimes you get the feeling that Todd, he loves his guys. He loves teaching these guys.
Yeah.
But does he want to fight with them? Does he want to be in the trenches fighting with his guys? You see it with other coaches. I don't know. I don't get that from Todd too much. But shout out to Mark Fisher for the super chat. Thank you very much for the $4.99 super chat. He says, the problem is that if we win this week, it means nothing. If we lose, it means everything. Hope y'all have a great week. Thank you very much for the kind words. I wouldn't say it doesn't mean anything, though, because, again, if they win, that gets them still in the race for the NFC South division. Whether or not you agree that the Bucs should compete or just keep tanking, it does keep them in the discussion to make the postseason. It means a lot to Todd Bowles because that gives him another week to try to save his job by putting on a winning display of football. So I don't think it means nothing by any means. And I think across the board, like Levante David didn't practice again. I know Servassier Dennis got sent home because of illness, but it means something to the young guys that are getting more playing time. Each week is very valuable to all these rookies and young players. And the Bucs still have to decide on Mike Evans. And if he keeps scoring touchdowns week in and week out, it's going to make it tougher not to re-sign him. So
that's right.
You obviously want to win, but whether it's win or lose, I think either way, this is still really important for future decisions for the Bucs. It
is. And what gives me a little bit of hope maybe is the Panthers, they've got the worst team in the league, and they've got the worst roster. Like, there's just not a lot of talent on the roster, right? I mean, I'm going to give you an example here. I'm going to pull up the statistics for the Panthers. I had it here and I closed it out. Okay, so here we go. So if you look at the Panthers, all right, you can look at Bryce Young. He's been sacked 40 times. 40. Okay, so that's the offensive line he has to play behind. He's thrown 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, right? Plus he's had some fumbles. If you look at his weapons, and I use that term loosely because I don't think he has any weapons, but Adam Thielen is the leading receiver. 33-year-old Adam Thielen out there, Matt. He's running around catching the ball, He's averaging 9.5 yards per catch, right? That's not good. And he has 77 catches for 728 yards. He has 4 touchdowns. He's the leading touchdown guy for the Panthers. The next receiver on the list, right? And this is in terms of yards. It's also in terms of catches. Okay. The next guy on the list is rookie Jonathan Mingo with 28 catches. Thielen has 77. Mingo has 28. That's like 49 less catches for 286 yards. That's about 450 yards less. And he has no touchdowns, and he's averaging 10.2 yards per catch. So, and then you have DJ Chark, 20 catches, 263 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 13.1 yard average. It doesn't get any better. It gets worse in terms of the number of catches and all that. So basically what I'm saying is, if you want to stop the Panthers offense, stop old man Adam Thielen, because he's about all they have in the red zone and outside the red zone. That's how bad the Panthers are. So you go back and you look at DeAndre Hopkins, right? And Derrick Henry, 2 way better weapons that the Titans had at their disposal with the rookie quarterback and Will Levis, who might actually be a better quarterback than Bryce Young.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers that day, Matt, won that game at home 20-6.
Yep.
And I'd like to think that when you look at the fact that they gave up 39 points at Houston, 27 points at San Francisco, 27 points at Indianapolis, what is the common denominator in all 3 of those games? The word at, meaning not home, not versus, but at. So I'm hopeful for the Buccaneers and for their fans, for the Pewter people out there, that this team puts on a show at home. They feel better playing in the hospitable confines of Raymond James, which has not been an automatic win at home.
In their white jerseys.
In their white jerseys. Thank you, Matt. Well said. But I just think that they've been on the road, and that 39, that 27, that 27, I think that number comes down on the defensive side, depending on who's out there. And we'll get into the injury report probably here in just a second, Matt. But I just have a feeling that they can do this. They really, really, really can do this. And if they don't, God help them.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to Adam Thielen, because I don't know how much longer he wants to keep playing.
Right.
I don't know what his contract is with the Panthers, but if he's a free agent after the season, if I'm his agent, I'm going, listen, he did this for the Panthers, the worst team in the league. Yeah. Can you imagine what he could do for your team as like the 3rd or 4th option? So shout out to Adam Thielen. To your point, though, Scott, I mean, you go back to that Titans game. Jamel Dean played his best game of the season against DeAndre Hopkins and got the better of him in a lot of one-on-one opportunities, also because the pass rush was finally working in that game. And they also shut down Derrick Henry. They did not let Derrick Henry be a factor at all, and therefore the Titans weren't able to move the football. Now, I say all of that because last year, and when Brady was mostly there, they clobbered the Panthers. But even last season, after they traded away Christian McCaffrey, it was, hey, well, as long as they stop Curtis Samuel, they are going to be A-okay. And then Curtis Samuel went off in that game.
For DJ Moore. So
DJ Moore. I don't know why I had Curtis Samuel on the mind.
Yeah, DJ Moore.
Apologies.
Well, and Devontae Foreman went off. And Cuba Hubbard went off. It was crazy. Tommy Tremble, the rookie tight end / fullback, he had a touchdown on Zion McCollum. So,
but that's the point I want to make is that DJ last year was like, hey, they still got DJ Moore. That's about it with PJ Walker. Todd Bowles knew this. Larry Foote knew this. Casey Rogers knew this. And yet still it was DJ Moore that was running rampant against the against the Bucs, and he did it again in the rematch. Obviously, the Bucs won that game, so people don't really remember it. But DJ Moore had another good game against the Bucs in that rematch in Raymond James Stadium. So they know the job in front of them. It's just whether or not they actually will pull it out.
And who's out there? We'll do the super chat, then we'll get to the injury report, which just came out.
Yeah, sounds good. The Bucs Standard, thank you for a $10 super chat, says, are the Glazers telling Light to prioritize nice guy players, or is it 100% up to Light and the head coach? I hope they switch it up next season. Eagles look for dogs. Niners look for bullies. Bucs look for Boy Scouts. Well, there's Boy Scout Boulevard or whatever it's called.
The answer to that is no. I think Jason Light looks for players that love football, right? And you can love football. Antoine Winfield loves football. Great player. Levante David loves football. Great player. Baker Mayfield loves football. Certainly a very good free agent option for the Buccaneers given their budget this year.
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of players that love the game, and that's important. You don't want a guy that likes football, that likes the paycheck, but not the play, right? And sometimes when you pay guys, that mentality kind of creeps in, and there's no way of knowing that when they come out of college, right? When they're hungry, they want to make, they want to get that Super Bowl, they want to get their big time contract. Sometimes years later, complacency sets in when you check those boxes off in your career, and that's you can't know that. There's certain guys. Rondé Barber was one of them. We can go through all the Hall of Famers the Bucs have had, all the legends in the Bucs Ring of Honor, the Mike Allstotts. They love the game of football, and it didn't matter how much you paid him or how long that contract extension was, or if they won a Super Bowl already. It didn't matter. You're still going to get their best because they're great players. So Jason Light looks for great players first and foremost. In terms of the nice guy thing, we talked about it on Monday. I'm not going to go too deep into it. They're harder to find in this day and age. Guys with an edge, right? Guys that have that kind of surly mentality that you need. You need to have that one prickish player out of the other leaders. It's important. It's a dynamic. He's looked for it. Jason Pierre-Paul had it in New York, so he imported it, right? He signed it with Ndamukong Suh. Gerald McCoy was the nicest guy in the world. He was too nice, according to Buccaneer fans. And the McCoy fans were losing their mind when Jason Light cut him and brought in Ndamukong Suh, who only missed games in the NFL, not due to injury, but due to suspensions for stepping on people,
That's
kicking
badass.
them, stomping them. Yeah, right. So, no, he likes those players. He gravitates towards those players. It's just they're hard to find. And then you got to find, okay, is this the kind of guy that's going to come in and be a jerk in the locker room or help me be a good leader? Like, Deshaun Jackson was not the best teammate.
Congrats. I was thinking about Deshaun Jackson. Congrats on his retirement, by the way.
That's right.
Buccaneer, great. Yeah.
Exactly. But he was kind of the selfish, prickish type player.
Yeah.
Not the type of guy that's going to positively impact your team and be a leader. Sometimes you get that with the wide receiver position. It's a diva position. Thankfully, though, Chris Godwin's a guy that loves football. Mike Evans is a guy that loves football. So Light does a good job of trying to find those guys, but it's just getting harder and harder to find the guys with the old school throwback mentality of the Hardy Nickerson, Warren Sapp, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh. They don't grow on trees. And I just think that with all of the internet, the hype, the five-star virus.
Follow me on Insta. The kids these days, man.
I tell you, it's just they're getting harder to find. But it is something that I've had conversations with Jason about. He's always on the lookout for. They're just getting harder to find. But it's a needed trade here in Tampa.
Yeah. Let's get to the injury report, starting out with the Buccaneers. And remember, they practiced indoors today, which I was quite thankful for. It was a bit chilly today.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing. No helmets or pads, just T-shirt and shorts. So essentially a walkthrough. Actually, it is a walkthrough. They said it themselves. But anyway, starting off with Levante David, groin, did not participate. Carlton Davis, ankle, was limited. Jamel Dean, ankle and foot, did not participate. Saracier Dennis did not participate. They sent him home because of an illness. Yaya Diaby was limited with an ankle. Mike Green was out once again with that calf injury, did not participate. Remember, he didn't play last game as well. Baker Mayfield, full participation and with that ankle, and Devin White limited with the foot injury. Now, it was tough to see what was up with Baker because it was the walkthrough. When I saw him, he was all the way on the other side of the field. with the linemen. You could see him because he's got that bright orange quarterback jersey that the Bucs wear in practice, and he just had his arms folded the whole time like this. Had his arms crossed. Quite difficult to tell whether or not he was actually doing anything, but they do have him as fully participating. I'll go down the Panthers quickly because they have a lot.
Yeah.
Von Bell, shoulder, did not participate. Jeremy Chin, quad, limited participation. Johnny Hecker, the punter, personal, did not participate. Yator Gross Matos, I remember covering him during the draft process. With the hamstring was limited. Marquise Haynes, senior back, did not participate. CJ Henderson, concussion, fully participated. JC Horn, hamstring, limited. Hayden Hurst, concussion, did not participate. DJ Johnson, elbow, limited. Cade Mays, the guard, ankle, limited. Taylor Moton, knee, rest, did not participate. And the rest of these players also did not participate. Laviska Shenault, Adam Thielen, Tommy Tremble, and Chandler Zavala. So, laundry list of names for the Panthers.
And with Thielen, it's a rest because he's 33 years old. He's an old man. So.
Damn. Let's keep it going with the super chats. We got Meats McGee with the $5 super chat. Thank you, Meats. Says, before Arians, I mentioned that we didn't have enough a-holes on it. McCoy helped players up and apologizing to Big Ben. When you said McCoy being a nice guy, the first thing I thought of was when he hit somebody, goes, "My bad, Ben. My bad, Ben." Yeah. Didn't love seeing
Warren Sapp would never, No. And I don't think Kalijah Cansey would apologize either. I think Kalijah's somewhere in between Gerald and
we literally saw Warren Sapp blindside Brett Favre and then talk smack with the coach as they were running to the tunnel. So
put a jersey on. Put a jersey on. To Ray Sherman. That was something else. This isn't super chat, but it kind of goes to it. I do want to address this because this is fair. Callie Buck said, we talked about Bowles' silent demeanor weeks ago. We were told it's not a big deal. Now you guys agreed that Bowles should express himself more. To be fair, the context of which I was talking about it was such that Tony Dungy was mild-mannered, right? He had the stoic face, crossed arms and all that, and he won because he had other lieutenants, including the likes of Sapp and Nickerson on those teams, and Herm Edwards, right, who was kind of like that lieutenant. He was the ass chewer of the coaching staff at the time. And I think every staff needs that. Sometimes it's the head coach. That was John Gruden. Sometimes it's the head coach. That was Bruce Arians. If that's not going to be Todd Bowles, there's got to be that guy on the staff that is that way, that is kind of like the enforcer, the guy that's going to chew you out if the head coach isn't. And I don't know that there's that guy, Matt. And that's what I'm saying. If it doesn't come from the head coach or the staff and is not coming from the guys with the C's on their chest, and there's not a guy like a JPP or Ndamukong Suh who never had a C on their chest, but still felt the need to stand up and say something and get in guys' face and demand accountability, then that's where the whole stoic, the whole arms crossed, the whole silent demeanor, that doesn't work. And that's what we've seen here down the stretch.
Right. And that's where the scenario kind of plays it out. They say the winners write the history books.
Yeah.
The winners tell the story. And when the Bucs were 3-1, it's like, Todd's chilling. Todd's got it. He's chilling. He's having a good time. Now you've lost 6 of 7. So it's like, hey, well, you chilling out hasn't been working. So maybe try something different. If they had won 6 of 7, cross your arms, wear your sunglasses, do whatever the hell you want because it's
I was
working.
with Tony Dungy. Yeah.
But when you're losing, it's not a good look. It's the other way around too. If you have a coach that's screaming the whole time,
Greg Schiano,
and then you lose 6 or 7, it's like, wow, this guy's a maniac. He should pull it back a little bit. So, it is a little bit of winning tells your story in a better light. And when you're losing, you pinpoint all the issues rather than focusing on what's working. But I know what works for me when I need a little pick-me-up, when I need a little bit of a boost. And what works for me will probably work for you as well, because I'm talking about Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. Check out all their great flavors. Their newest one is the Cosmic Vibe. I'm also a huge fan of the Oasis Vibe, the Sparkling Orange Pomegranate, Sparkling Orange, Sparkling Watermelon, a lot of sparklings, but also a lot of great vibes as well. The Arctic Vibe is my personal favorite. Shout out. Get it as soon as you can, which if you need to know how to get it as soon as you can, go to the Celsius store locator, punch in your address. It'll tell you the closest geographical location where you can have a Celsius and go purchase one. It could be a 7-Eleven, a Walmart, a health and fitness store, or if you're lucky enough, it might just be your bodega. And once you keep going to your bodega and you know you love Celsius and you're like, this is good. There's a lot of great flavors. Can I get it in bulk? Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, you can.
That's when you go over to Amazon, click on the subscribe and save, get it in bulk. I'd recommend that variety pack because variety is the spice of life, a lot of awesome flavors. And you can have it sent to your residence whenever you want. It could be a week, month, quarterly, yearly. You're Charles in charge. You're the captain. Maybe you're the captain that the Bucs need to set other people straight and tell them how to get better and play better. But nonetheless, in this case, just make sure Celsius is your number one pick. Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com.
Kelly Buck shares the sentiments of a lot of Buccaneer fans, a lot of Pewter people. I can't believe the Bucs started 3-1. I was so hopeful. Yep. That's just how it is. I'm the captain now. That's right. That's right.
Got a couple super chats to get to. Second Royalty with the $1.99 super chat says Andy Dalton balled coming off the bench.
He did. If you look at his stat line from his appearances, he played in 3 games total. But when Bryce Young missed, I think he missed 1 game, 1 start. But so far this year, Dalton has completed 58.6% of his passes. Not great, but 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he's thrown for 361 yards. Again, 2 TDs, no interceptions, sacked 3 times. Bryce Young sacked 40 times, 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Doesn't have a lot to work with. There were knocks on his game coming out of Alabama, and some of that was, wow, he had all of these NFL caliber wide receivers to throw to, right? Is he a product of a system, or is he the guy that stirred that drink? Was he the straw that stirred that drink?
Yeah.
You could look at that too, right? CJ Stroud had, plenty of stud receivers at Ohio State. Sometimes doesn't matter who you play with, you're going to stand out and shine, and you're going to star. And I think CJ Stroud is that guy. He's made guys like Nico Collins and Tank Dell and Noah Brown look really, really good. Bryce Young, though, we'll see if he gets some better weapons, better blocking, what he can become. But Matt, he's so small. He is the outlier when it comes to size, and he almost has to operate behind shotgun exclusively, because we've seen it with Baker Mayfield getting 2-3 passes batted down line of scrimmage every game, right? And you just wonder, is this guy, can he be Russell Wilson-esque?
Right.
Or is he just going to be a guy that's simply just too small and not good enough to play? And boy, the Panthers traded up to get him. They don't have a first-round pick this year. He has got to work for this franchise. Otherwise, he and that owner, David Tepper, are going to set the Carolina Panthers back years. They will forever be the cellar dweller in the NFC South.
Yeah, they will. I do feel bad for Bryce Young a little bit, because it is one of those things, like, if you put CJ Stroud on the Panthers, like, how much better is Stroud and things of that nature. But it is a rough look when when they put you together there. Bob Bubalis says there's a better chance of seeing Yaya Diaby drinking a Celsius at your local bodega than seeing the Bucs win this week. Yeah. Well, there's a home game. Yaya, I guess, could technically fly to the Northeast on Friday night and then fly back Saturday and go to bodega. What was the last thing I want to say about the Panthers and Bryce Young? Yeah, I just feel like Bryce Young, like, he's gonna snap in half like a twig. But to be fair, I didn't love Tua either as like a product coming out of Alabama.
Totally agree.
Even the first couple of seasons, you're like, wow, he's injury prone. Like, he's not bad when he's healthy, but he's not healthy that much.
Great point, man.
And Tua's turned it around. All to his credit to Mike McDaniel as well. So I think it's way too early just to close the book completely on Bryce Young. It is what it is. Everyone will be like, oh, remember Peyton Manning? He was terrible as a rookie. Yep. So just keep that in mind.
We're not saying that he's destined for failure. But a great point about Tua. Like, he's got to have that type of turnaround to make it worth it for this franchise to have traded up to get him, and essentially, be 2 first-round picks. I I don't know. I just don't see the specialness. Now, I saw it firsthand in the Sugar Bowl last year when Alabama kicked my Kansas State team's butt. He was phenomenal. But how many times have we seen great college quarterbacks be just that, great in college, and not be able to transcend to the NFL? So
it's just funny because the Panthers could really use a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. next season.
Yeah,
as a weapon on offense, and they don't have
and then
a
first round pick. Yeah, it's crazy.
Let's get to this comment from Pico de Style Mutant, who says this should be a good game for Yaya and Cansey. It's funny. Like 2 weeks ago, we're like, Yaya, Kalijah Cansey played well, but didn't have as much of an impact against the Titans as he has other weeks. But that was the game where Yaya went off, and then last week Yaya was relatively quiet, but Kalijah Cansey had the big sack at the end of the game. It's just been great watching their progression. I mean, Kalijah and Vita are, kicking ass and taking names.
Oh yeah.
I just I'm already excited for next season. Just how they could look.
I know.
Cansey in year 2, and Vita, I don't see any signs of slowing down anytime soon.
The great thing too is if you look at all of the first round draft picks, defensive tackles that have ended up becoming a Pro Bowler in Tampa eventually. You look at Warren Sapp. Guess how many sacks he had as a rookie back in 1995? 3. You look at Gerald McCoy in 2009, or 2010. How many sacks did he have? 3. His rookie season. Vita Vea in 2018. How many sacks did he have during his rookie season? 3. So Kalijah Cansey already at 3, having missed essentially the first 4 games.
Yeah. Off
to a really good start historically. And we'll see how he does in year 2. But I had a conversation with him. He's got one eye. Actually, he's got both eyes on this season. He's not looking ahead too far, but he's already thought about how he's going to get better, not having to do the combine prep, the visits all around the circuit, right? He wants to get stronger and bigger, and he's got a plan. And I'll have that story for you in pewterreport.com here soon enough. But he's pretty excited about next year already, as he continues to get better on a week in, week out basis right now.
I can only imagine what he can do next season. Because even someone like Logan Hall, who we've criticized for not doing much this season, he came into the season looking fit, looking great and in shape for everything that you just said about not having to do all the rookie stuff and being able to just focus on himself, really. So if Kalijah Cansey has that same type of build, I mean, obviously his potential is way more through the roof.
You know what? We've been calling for Yaya Diaby to get more playing time, right? And he did. He was a starter on Sunday, played the most amount of snaps he's ever played in a game, and really didn't produce. Just wasn't his week, and he had a nice tackle for loss, and that was about it, right? But sometimes those depth chart changes can spark a player. And with JTS, you go back and look, he had a solid game. He's been solid against the run, had a gimme sack, but you know what, to his credit, he got it because he's missed some of those gimme sacks before. But he finally got benched, right? And I agree, he's not like a great player, but maybe that's his role. Maybe he's going to do more with 30 snaps a game rather than playing 50 or 60 snaps. That's the thing you got to consider too.
Shout out to Mark Fisher again for another $4.99 super chat. Thank you. Who says, to clarify, talking about his other comment earlier, to clarify, if we win, it's versus the worst team in the league. I'm not feeling different about the team. Falcons game will also say a lot more about us. I mean, I totally agree with that. I don't think, even losing the Panthers, sure, you move closer to the top pick, but I don't see the Panthers winning more than 3 games this season if they even reach that point. So I don't think the Bucs are even remotely close to being the number 1 overall pick. And that Falcons game, I'm probably going to pick the Falcons, but it is everything.
It's everything.
And it'll probably be 10-9 game or something.
Could be. I think these next 2 weeks will tell the entire tale of the season and put a period at the end of it. We're going to know in 2 weeks whether this team is still in it and still has a chance at the playoffs and at the NFC South title, or if we're just looking ahead to a top 10 draft pick for this team and a new head coach, right? But you don't have a chance of beating the Falcons unless you get a confidence-building win at home against the Panthers. You're not going to go into Atlanta having lost 7 of 8 games and beat the Falcons. It's not going to happen because this team will be deflated, demoralized, everything. You will continue to see the downward spiral. This is the last stand. This is the feel good, the get back, the hope, and the mathematical chances, all that stuff. They ride on this game. And I think, Matt, the Buccaneers don't just need to beat the Panthers.
Yes.
They got to beat it. It has to be 20-6 like it was against the Titans or greater to have any kind of momentum heading up to Georgia next week to have a chance at the Falcons. If they sneak by the Panthers, I still think it's absolutely over. I mean, I think it's over anyways, but let's play it out and see what happens. The win next week against the Falcons cannot happen unless they really take care of business and get this thing right on both sides of the ball against the Panthers on Sunday.
Scott, you read my mind. That was exactly what I was going to say, is that this can't just be a win. This has to be a pummeling type of game. This has to be one where it's not stressful like the Titans or how they went about beating I was about to say the Carolina Saints, the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
It's got to be that type of game.
Right.
I don't think the Bucs get much inspiration out of, kicking a game-winning field goal, or the Bucs defense gets a stop when the Panthers have the ball with a chance to win, but they can't drive down the field, or Panthers miss a field goal. The game cannot end with the Bucs winning, but everyone going, "Whew, that was close."
Yep.
No matter how they do it, either the Bucs have a fourth quarter last drive or however it goes,
defensive stop or whatever.
They got to win by double digits, pretty much.
I agree.
They got to win by, it could be 20-10. It could be 45,
it has to be a feel-good game.
20.
Like there's got to be a celebration in that locker room. It can't be a moment. It's got to be a we kick their ass moment. And it's like, okay, we can build on this. We have some confidence now. We stopped the losing, right? And we're going to take this and we're going to go back and get that win that the Panthers stole from us here at Ray J. That's the mentality that this team has to have. But that mentality doesn't not occur without taking care of business against the Panthers. And I think they're going to win. I just don't know by how much. It could be a squeaker, but for their sake, for the Bucs' sake, I hope that they do what you just talked about, which is have a convincing win and go up there and keep it interesting, right? I mean, that's the whole thing.
The Bucs have to give onlookers, their fans, media, anybody that's watching them, they have to give, let's just start with their fans.
Yep.
They have to give their fans reason to believe that something different will happen the following week against the Falcons.
Yeah.
Because if not, I wouldn't blame one fan for being like, well, this is what's going to happen. They're going to have bad penalties and drop the ball, and they're going to move the ball down the field until the drive gets nullified by something dumb that the offense does. Meanwhile, the defense won't be able to generate pressure unless they blitz Devin White or Antoine Winfield Jr. And the offense is going to be able to move down the field on the Bucs defense, never with the chunk play, all just 7 yards after 8 yards after 9 yards. And that's how the Bucs are going to lose. Because we've seen this story.
Oh, yeah.
There's only been, 12, 13 games? We've seen the story 1,000 times already.
Yep.
Meets McGee with the $2 super chat. Thank you again to Meets
Thank
McGee.
you.
Who says, how about Todd Monken as head coach and Dennis Allen as defensive coordinator?
I take it some guys are coordinators, right?
Yep.
They just are. Like Todd Bowles, probably a better coordinator than a head coach. That's really what his record says. I'm not trying to slander a coach. It just that you are what your record says you are. That I don't think Bill Parcells said that. You get what you deserve. That's what John Gruden said. It's just how it is, man. And there are certain guys that are phenomenal position coaches. Like Rod Marinelli was one of the best position coaches I've ever seen. In my opinion, probably the best defensive line coach I've ever seen or had any type of being in the orbit of. Was a good defensive coordinator, not a good head coach. The results are what they were. 0-16 Lions. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's just it. But Monken, I think deserves a shot at being a head coach. I think he's a leader of men. I think that he brings a ton of experience from college, the innovation from college.
Working with young people too.
Bingo. Yeah. I mean, he's a year removed from working with 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. He understands the modern day NFL player because he was swimming in those circles, and he can work with veteran players because he's had success in Tampa Bay. He had a year in Cleveland working with Baker Mayfield with the Browns, and then most recently with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
And also, he's got a little bit of that I don't give a damn attitude where, like, he could be grumpy at times and be like, I'm not going to put up with this crap. So, work with this, and this. So, like the whole thing that we talked about this on the show when he was at Georgia. And he's like, yeah, they say football is family, but it's business. Like, he's kind of a realist about things, which I think is important.
I agree.
Let's get to the super chat from Justin Ballas, a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Justin, who says, does the coaching staff truly just not believe in Kyle Trask at all? They could not wait to get Baker back out there, even with his ankle. Yeah, I actually thought that Baker probably got rushed in a little bit too early, in my opinion. I would have liked to see one drive for Kyle Trask just so it could spark a little more discussion.
Just out of curiosity, right?
The Baker group and the Traskaholics. So, yeah, I mean, again, we've kind of said this before, but no problem to reiterate it again. Baker's been average. He's been fine. He's been okay. He's not the reason why the Bucs have lost 6-7.
Right.
He's not the number one culprit for the Bucs on the offensive side of the ball and their struggles. So until it's a massive, massive issue, or they are so far out of the divisional race that they're really not playing for much anymore, that's really the only time you're going to see a change.
Yep. This is something here that I think Buccaneer fans are grasping to, and I can't blame them. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and criticize your fandom, Pewter people. You're going to either root for your team to win, or you're going to root for your team to have a better draft pick and a coaching change. I get both sides of that coin. I do. So I'm not going to sit there and be one of these hosts that bash you for how you think. John Stanley says, I'd rather the Bucs just tank the rest of the year. I can't watch us lose our first playoff game again if we even make it that far. I get that. And I can't, I can't necessarily subscribe to either way because I'm a journalist. Whatever happens, I'm going to report on it. I'm probably, by nature, not going to root against this team because I know who our audience is. And I got relationships over there. Yeah. You do too, Matt, with players, coaches, front office people that, I don't want to see failure. I don't want to. I know how hard they work. I know that these are purposeful people that are trying to put a winning product out there, and they deserve success. And it's more fun, honestly, covering a winning team than it is a losing team, right? It just is. It's you, Pewter people, are in a great mood, and your team's winning. There's some momentum. The town feels alive. It's a cool environment.
Everything's a little bit better. Listen,
it is.
Do coaches and players, what would they rather be asked? Hey, why were you so good last game? Or hey, why'd you guys suck last game?
Right.
Clearly, they want to talk about how good that they were. Versus,
and the locker room's more full of players when they're winning. They kind of hide in the cafeteria when they're not.
Today's a perfect example. I wouldn't call it a ghost town today.
Yeah.
We did get to talk to Mike Evans and a couple of other guys, but right as open locker room ended and media had to go back into our media room, right as we were leaving, that's when Devin White, Antoine Winfield Jr., and there was two other defensive players that were on their way to the locker room right as we were leaving. It's all right, I get it. I've kind of seen it before when it's a losing team.
Yeah,
I understand
just
it.
Right.
Let me tell you though, Pewter people, if you want something to root for your players when you are using them in the pick'em game over at Underdog Fantasy, and you can get a first deposit bonus with Underdog using the promo code Pewter. That's PEWTER. If you don't know what the pick'em game is over at Underdog Fantasy, and they got a couple of different games between in-game tournaments and the rivals aspect, but the pick'em is really where it's at. That's where you're picking anywhere from 2 to 5 players, got to be at least one from 2 different teams. And you are just predicting higher or lower. You're making picks on stats like higher or lower on certain rushing yards or passing touchdowns or tackles for a defensive player. And you can win up to 20 times your money depending on the right picks that you make over at Underdog Fantasy. So if you're sick of the Bucs as a team, but you really love Mike Evans or Rashad White, you can specifically bet on their stats at Underdog Fantasy. If you hate a division rival, and you think, their quarterback's not going to do anything. Bryce Young's not going to be able to move the ball. Bet lower on his passing yards for the game. Makes it that much more fun, especially if it's a crappy game like the Vikings and the Bears the other night. The game may have stunk, but if you had some personal picks on the game, makes it that much more exciting. So go to Underdog Fantasy, use the promo code Pewter, and get a first deposit bonus when you sign up with Underdog Fantasy.
Yeah. Let's get to a couple videos, man. Pick out some of the better ones here as the show winds down.
Yeah, so starting out with Baker Mayfield, how his ankles feeling? That's obviously been a big point of discussion.
Good. Both of them are good. For me, I know this sounds kind of corny, but it's kind of a mindset. Tell yourself you're able to get through it, and you just kind of mind over matter. I mean, there's times where every injury is different. If it's going to hinder your play, I know I've mentioned that before. If it's going to hinder your play, you're hurting the team. So there's a difference in toughing it out and being smart. So it's a fine line you got to walk.
Is it hard to come off the field though and not play?
Oh yeah. For me, yeah. You want to be out there as a competitor. You want to be out there with your guys. You go through the weeks of practice, and you want to be able to go out and do your best on game day.
How much did it impact your mobility? Maybe not necessarily scrambling because you were able to run for a touchdown, but run for a first down, but just moving around in the pocket.
If immediately after a little bit, but it eased up as the game went on.
You feel like you held the ball a few times too long?
There's the sacks. Like there was one that I scrambled up and somebody was going to hit me, so I slid. And it's like the 0 yardage sacks, so those kind of impact those numbers. There were a couple definitely could have gotten the ball out quicker. The empty one where it took a sack just across midfield. Definitely just need to find an outlet, make it easier on those guys. Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Find an outlet, checking the ball down or throwing it away, and just knowing when they might have a better call than us.
Want to get some more Baker videos, but we got more super chats to get to. So let's get to them. Spider-Man with the $1.99 super chat says, "Why do the Buccaneers hate the red jerseys?" It's beyond me. If there was any week where you were going to wear the red jerseys, it would be in a 4:05 game, which, let's be honest, Scott.
Yeah.
Bucs are at 4:05. At 4:25, it is the 49ers and the Eagles. It's a rematch of the NFC Championship game.
Yep.
No
one's going to be
outside
watching.
of Tampa and probably not even people in Carolina because they're still going to be partying from the Florida State game the night before. Hopefully Florida State wins. Nobody, except for relatives of the players, are going to be watching Bucs versus Panthers. Everybody's going to be watching the 49ers, Eagles. And it's a 4 o'clock game, and the weather's been kind of chilly this week. It's going to be December, I believe. Yeah, because tomorrow's November 30th. It's going to be December when this game plays. They've worn the red jersey one time this season.
It was a night game against the Eagles on Monday Night Football. Yeah, it's a little maddening. I just wish they would like say, hey, in November, December, we're wearing the red at home, right? Like that's all you have to do. Here's the thing: college football, man. How many times does Florida State wear garnet at home?
Yeah, every time. Every
time, right? Whether it's a noon kickoff or whatever, they do it. I don't understand the whole. And listen, I'm not a fan of the all white look. I don't like the icy whites. That's not for me. If you're the Colts and your colors are blue and white, fine, wear all white. That's fine.
Yeah, that's the point.
But you have a pewter helmet, put the pewter pants on, and wear a white jersey or a red jersey with the pewter pants. If you want to mix it up, wear the white pants. I don't care, but have the red jersey. So I don't know. I'm a little over it. I'm with you.
Yeah, and I'm sure some nerd is going to bring up the science of like the temperature of the thing. I'm sure it plays a little bit. I'm not denying that.
Yeah,
but the Bucs lost 16-13 at home against the Falcons. Do you remember what the Falcons were wearing that game?
Black jerseys.
Black jerseys with black
helmets.
All right. So that ends the discussion right there. Moving on. Bucs Basement with the $2 super chat. Thank you, Bucs Basement says, beating a 1-10 team is nothing to write home about. I'm absolutely with you, but when you've lost 6 or 7, you got to hang on to anything.
That's right. That's right.
Paul, a.k.a. Florida Dreamhouse, thank you for this $5 super chat, says, this team needs to retool, not rebuild.
Agreed. Yep.
As Bruce Arians would say, it's reloading. There is a lot to work with, plus a better than average quarterback. Get a head coach with an offensive mindset, fill holes, and move forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is not going to be a blow it up offseason. There will be a head coaching change. There might be a quarterback change, depending on what Baker Mayfield wants, how big of a market he has, what the new coach wants him. But a lot of this talent is young, developed talent that is developing from the draft, and we'll see what happens. Another draft class, they'll add more to it. They'll have some more money to spend in free agency, right? So it's re-signing the guys you want to keep. For me, it's Mike Evans, right? It's Chase McLaughlin, without a doubt. You found another kicker, Jason. You're 2 for 2 between Ryan Suckup and this guy. So it is retool and reload more so than rebuild, and I think that's what's going to keep the Buccaneers competitive for years to come in the NFC South, as long as they get better coaching and some accountability over there in that locker room.
Now,
any other videos, Matt?
Yeah, I was going to transition into Baker had those comments after the game about everyone getting more pissed off and playing tougher. He was kind of asked about that again today. He wants to reiterate. He's not talking about anyone specifically, but these are his further comments on it.
He's got to be on board. I'm fighting. I'm going to try to bring some other guys over. And then some people are like, oh, what did he mean by that? Are some guys not giving their all? Could you expound a little bit on that?
It's, for me, my mindset right now, and it should be for the whole team, is we're in a playoff mode mentality. We have to take care of business each week to move on and to get to where we want to go. And so it's a matter of we don't really have any more room there's no slack. I mean, we have to pick up the pace. We got to have a sense of urgency about it. I think now everybody realizes what's at stake now, that we have to win out. We have to win these division games to get to where we want to go, to get into the playoffs. And so it's a sense of urgency. It's a matter of, guys doing all the treatment, getting everything we need to get done, young guys stepping up and realizing that they're going to play a pivotal role in this final season push that we have, and everybody just has to be on board.
If you want to get on board with buying or selling a home, well, there's one person to call. He's your Pro Bowler. That is Eric Gross with the Eric Gross Group. Visit their Houses and FLA website. It's a fantastic website. Check out the inventory. It's a great layout on that website, easy to navigate. And it takes a full team effort in football to win games. It's the same way in real estate. The Eric Gross Group, they've done hundreds of transactions in this crazy real estate market, and they have the experience in all types of situations, whether you're buying or selling a home. Eric is an avid Pewter Report reader, so it's great. The conversation starts there about your Tampa Bay football team. He's a Tampa native. He knows this area like the back of his hand. And more importantly, their clients are not just transactions. They become lifelong friendships. Don't let the stress of buying or selling a home keep you out of the game. Let the Eric Gross Group take the pressure off. Find him on Facebook and Instagram at Eric Gross Group, or check out their website, housesandfla.com. Give Eric a call at 513-907-4271. No matter where you are on your home ownership journey, you're going to feel welcome with the Eric Gross Group, the official realtor of Pewter Report. Again, visit housesandfla.com.
There's also been a lot of talk with the Bucs about holding players accountable. Is it a focus type of thing? And this was Baker's answer to that one.
Ascending.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not what we had planned, but at a certain point, it's just look in the mirror, get your job fixed, and then try and elevate everybody else around you. There's no secret recipe besides doing your job at the highest level possible each game.
It feels like at times the offense is able to move the ball, but then a penalty or a drop kind of ends things. Is that an accountability thing? Do guys need to be held accountable, or is that a focus thing?
A little bit of both. There's some penalties here and there that are hurting us. Obviously, the first drive, we're moving it pretty well, and I go down, and then you have the penalty to back us up off the goal line. Just things like that. And was that really a false start? No, but just little things that you have to. They can change the drive, the momentum. So you just have to be locked in at all times. It's that reset button mentality. Good, bad play. You have to play the next one, and your focus has to be there 100%.
Pewter people, if you're not already doing so, please follow us on our social media on X, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Pewter Report. Our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV, where we got various podcasts, different clips, things from the Bucs facilities. So many awesome, great stuff. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about Chris Godwin. The topic will be what's happened to Chris Godwin. Not playing like a $20 million per year wide receiver. So I'm sure a lot of people have their opinions on that one for tomorrow's episode. That's going to be
folks. We kind of shortchanged a little bit on the Panthers preview. Tomorrow they're going to get into that as well. I've also put my pick six preview about the Bucs Panthers game in the chat, so check that out. More Bucs Panthers coverage, plus what happened to Chris Godwin tomorrow on the Pewter Report podcast.
There you go. All right. That'll do it for us. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Out.